Good morning, all of you. This is the platform of Gyan Sagar Civil Academy. Welcome to all of you at this platform. In the series of Indian economy, we will continue our discussion about economic growth and development. In the last class, we have discussed about the growth, development, and progress. In this series, again, we will continue the next topic. Our next topic is factor affecting economic development. What are the major factors that affect the economic development? We can see different countries have achieved different level of economic growth. Particularly the developed countries like USA, European Union, they have reached at the climax, while developing countries, Asian countries and African countries, they are lagging behind and they are not taking such level of standard of life. Why? There are the major factors which affect them. So in this series, we will continue our discussion about the economic growth and development. What are the major factors that affect the economic growth? First one is level of infrastructure. Level of infrastructure is the major factor for economic growth. Infrastructure is the backbone for the upstreaming the economy of any country. It strives the developmental activities and provide the opportunities to its population. It raises the standard of living. It is the living and create the livelihood opportunities. So energy, power supply, generation of energy, rail, road transportation, storage facilities, as well as housing. So these are the major infrastructure elements that helps and multiplying the developmental activities in any country. It can be exemplified through the example inside the India and outside the India. As for concerned, the world, particularly the African countries, we can see in Central Africa, here we can write in Central Africa, nowadays they are getting the destination of the development. Why? Due to the upgradation, due to the development of the infrastructure in Central African countries like Zambia, Angola, and Democratic Republic of Congo, Tanzania. So these countries nowadays are stepping up very fast in terms of development due to the investment in infrastructure. For example, Chinese, we can exemplify it through this example, just like the China, through the Belt and Road Initiatives of China, Belt and Road Initiative of China, here we can find Tajara project, Tajara, Tanzania, Zambia Railway Authority, Tanzania, Zambia Railway Authority. The Central African countries are laden with different resources, minerals, oil, diamonds, golds, cobalt, copper, and like that. So these resources are required to the China and USA. So they are investing and generating the infrastructure, rail, road, and connecting the hinterland to the coast, to the port. So here Tajara project, I think say Zambia is a landlocked country. and from Zambia to the Tanzania, railway construction were going on by the China, and this rail will connect to the landlocked country, particularly the resource laden country like the Zambia to the Tanzanian coast, and other project of the China's under Belt and Road Initiative, just like the smart cities. These projects are ongoing in African countries. Next one is, I think, say, one project by the USA that is also very popular, Lobito Corridor. Lobito Corridor. Lobito Corridor. USA and European countries are constructing the rail and road in Central African countries. They connecting Zambia and Democratic Republic of Congo with the Lobito. Lobito is the coastal city on Angola. Lobito is located at the coast of Angola. Lobito is the coastal city toward the Atlantic Ocean. Toward the Atlantic Ocean. So the Lobito connecting from Atlantic coast to the Zambia, then again to the Democratic Republic of Congo. So these projects have boosted the economic development in Central African countries. As far as concerned the India, the infrastructure is very advanced, is very developed in western state like Gujarat, Maharashtra, in southern state like Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala, and northwest states like Haryana, West UP, and Punjab. So these states are very advanced and very developed compared to the eastern states and as northeast India. Here the connectivity is very poor. Northeast India and eastern states are flooded. They are geographically very harsh and very hard, difficult terrain, undulating surface, forested and flooded regions are not supported, and very tough task to develop the infrastructure in the eastern India and northeast. The mountainous and very difficult topography is found in northeast India, harsh and undulating surface. So we can't develop very easily the infrastructure in northeast India. Therefore, lack of infrastructure in Odisha, Bihar, parts of East UP, as well as the West Bengal and Northeast India. So we find it is least developed and less developed compared to the Western India and Southern India. Next point is the education. Education play a vital role in terms of the development. It empowers the human. It generates the skill. It creates the human character. So education make the capacity building that required to the factories, to the industries. It make people the employability. It is an enabling factor to earn the livelihood. It is the enabling factor to earn the livelihood. So education is a major factor for economic development. India's IT and service sector boosted. Why? Due to the availability of the cheap and skilled manpower. The cheap and skilled manpower supply is the major factor for the India's service sector development. And nowadays, I think India is the leading one in terms of the IT and the software. Why? Because the easy and chief availability of the manpower, skilled and trained manpowers, and my particularly the engineers and doctors are very easily available. So India boosted in terms of the IT sector and services. Next point I mentioned here, level of saving and capital formation. According to the Harod-Domar model, according to the Harod-Domar model of economic growth, The first 5-year plan was based on Harod-Domar model. These are two person, not single one. These are the Harod is another person and Domar is another economist. So both have jointly given a theory related to the economic developments known as the Harod-Domar model. The first 5-year plan was based on Harod-Domar model. Next point, level of saving and capital formation is the key element, is the key factor for economic growth. According to this model, saving and capital formation is the major factor for economic growth. In terms of India, I think saving level is nowadays persist approximately 29%, while capital formation is 32%. So very less compared to the developed countries. So in other terms, we can compare the India in a different phase. Before the application of LPG, I means economic reforms, 1991, our saving and capital formation was less than 20%. Nowadays it reached to the 30%. So nowadays our economic growth is very high compared to the decade of 80 and 90. Why? Because our saving and capital formation has enhanced after the implementations of the economic reform in 1991. Next point is the political stability and the law order situation is also factor. The political stability is the major factor for the economic growth. It attracts the investments. The law order bring stability in the society. It make to generate to help the peoples to do the work as per their choices. So there is the no compulsion and foundation. Lawlessness bring the anarchy. While law and order, maintaining the law and order situation is a major factor for the development. Western India and Northwest India, I think, was very developed because their law order is very strong compared to the Eastern India. So the political stability is a major factor. Political upheaval dry out the investment. It remove the investment, while political stability attract the investment from abroad. Macroeconomic factor. Macroeconomic factor, low level of inflation and low level of inflation. Next point is under macroeconomic factor we can say exchange rate stability, exchange rate stability, it supports the development. Low level inflation, I think say 4 to 5% is good for the development, for the growth, while exchange rate must also be stable. So these are the factors. Frequent and very rapid devaluation retard the growth. Frequent and rapid devaluation of any currency of a country retard the development because investment is fly away. While we can say rapid devaluation. Devaluation means decreasing the price of country's currency, decreasing the value of country's currency, decreasing the value of currency of a country. That is the devaluation. It is decreased by the government itself. So decreasing the value of a currency by its own government. So this is the devaluation. So rapid devaluation make fly away foreign investment. Foreign investment. Regional effect. Regional effect is a very important factor for economic growth. during the 1990, 80 and is the best example is 1980 and 1990, Southeast Asian countries are getting the skyrocket of development during 1980 and 1990. Southeast Asian countries getting the flag of development because of regional effects. Means each and every neighbors are involved in the developmental activities. Their economy we are boosting. So regional factor is also important. Next point in natural resources. Resource laden countries are having a good option for the development, just like the Sheikh Dam countries. Sheikh Dam countries means Gulf countries and Arabian countries. They are laden with the natural resources like petrol and gas. So the petroleum and gas availability of the petroleum and gas and its drilling and mining affect the development. Nowadays, development in the Shagdam countries and of Russia is also they getting the developmental factor through the natural resources. So natural resources is a major factor for the development of any economy like Venezuela, like Gulf countries. So here we can put on Gulf countries, Gulf countries, we find the natural resource during 1960. So since that it's taking the step of development, and before that they are very poor. Tax rates and level of corruption. Easy tax rate. Taxes attract the investment. It allures the MNCs that bring the know-how technologies that make our product, they help in the marketing of domestic product across the globe, across the world. So taxations, easy taxations and lenient and polite taxes that help to generate the income by the body corporates. Therefore it attracts the investments. The level of corruption is a major factor for economic development. How much corruption persists in any society, in any government, it retards the developments. So it is the also factor. Next point, the free trade and protectionism. Some countries are benefited from the free trade policies like the tariff. Particularly, for example, we can say here East Asian countries like China, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, they are most benefited from the free trade. They want to make tariff free trade, while developing countries they are promoting the protectionism because they are they lost too much in case of the free trade. Therefore developing countries adopted the protectionism. Developing countries are adopted the measure of protectionism because they are most sufferer in case of the free trade policies. Therefore they adopted and promoted the protectionism. So here we can write developing countries adopted protectionism. while developed countries, and these are the also developing countries, East Asian countries, but they are the exception. They are the exception. They are getting most profit from the free trade and tariff barrier, free trade and free tariff barriers, tariff free barriers. So now we are going toward another topics. I think these are the very crystal clear from the examples. Sometimes the questions might be asked in the main examinations. So we can put down this information and in a sequence manner. Now we are moving about the different phases of economic growth in case of India. What economic growth measures was adopted by the India since 1947? Indian government has adopted different measures for the economic growth. It changed its policies time to time. In this way, we can describe these measures in a phase manner. Since independence, we are suffering a lot of challenges. One that was the refugee crisis. We have to settle the refugees. Another one, we have to make the whole country and unite and integrate different region and different state in a single unit. Next one is the food shortage is also matter. So these factors and its multiplications have affected our economy on the dawn of 1947. So Indian government has adopted different measures. In this case, since 1960, 65 and 66, we implemented the Green Revolution. Green Revolution was started in India in 1965 and 66. This brings drastic changes in certain section, certain region of India. It benefited most to the Punjab, Haryana, West UP, deltaic region of Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. Why we focus on the agriculture? It is the agriculture based growth rate. It was the agri based approach, agri based growth. Our first phase related to the agri based growth. It will help in generating the employment. It might secure the livelihood. It will help in providing, availing the food. So it also supportive for the food security. So these are the factors. Due to that, we focused primarily on agriculture growth. So governments started the Green Revolution and it brings drastic changes in certain pockets. It make India food sufficient till 1980 and 84. Up to reaching the 1980 and 84, India become food sufficient and not rely over the import. But it brings a gulf, it brings inequality among the region, among the people, among the society. It only benefited to the Punjab, Haryana, West UP and deltaic region of Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. Agri-based growth, I think, helps in generating the basic resources at that time, but not across the India. As far as concerned the other sector like industry and services, it has no relation with the industry and services. It remains untouched with other sectors. So due to the due to the gap between the industry and agriculture, it's get not benefited as much as needed. So in these pockets, particularly Punjab, Haryana and West UP, we can assume the industry and different sectors we are initiated to start we are initiated, so we can express these things through the backward and forward linkage with the agriculture. So the agriculture sector's backward and forward linkage helps in the boosting of economy of this selected sector. One thing is it create the employment to these areas. It make the holistic development to these states, only selected states, as well as it multiplied its benefit through the backward and forward linkages. One thing that I have mentioned, suppose that this is the agriculture farmland, agriculture and farmland. There are the farmers, these are the agriculture land. The agriculture and agriculture farmland needs inputs for the growth, for production of any crops. So these inputs we put here through the backward. So the relationship between agriculture for getting the inputs with others is known as the backward linkage. The relationship of agriculture, of the farmer, of the farmland with others to get the basic inputs for agriculture. What are the inputs? Just like the seed, fertilizer, machine, pump set, borewell, electricity, oil, petroleum, etc. Oil and diesel. So these inputs needed in agriculture, HYV seeds also. So these are the inputs for agriculture. When the agriculture and farmers and farmland make a relations with others for getting these inputs, this relation is known as the backward linkage or backward relation, backward linkage. The output of agriculture were supplied forward. So the output means produced of the goods, just like the grains, crops, potato, tomato, and different type of vegetables and the fruits were supplied toward the market. So these are the outputs were supplied forwards. So it is known as the forward linkage. These supplies of the food grains for food processing industries, they help to make a relation with the food storage, marketing and with the market and transportation. So the linkage between agriculture with others for supplying the outputs is known as the forward linkage. So the backward linkage and forward linkage of the agriculture, it multiplied the benefits and the growth of the certain pockets of India, not whole India. Next point. Agriculture, yeah, green revolution, it is very inclusive. It is inclusive. Means it is a participatory. It helps to distribute the income and benefit to different to the population, but it not sustain. My means agricultural growth cannot be sustained even though it is most inclusive, it is participative, it helps to disperse the benefit to the common people. But it cannot sustain. Why it cannot sustain? Because it is not related, it is not followed with the industrialization. So whenever agriculture make a strong linkage with the industry, means the output of agriculture must be used by the industries as raw material, so agriculture will sustain for a long duration of time. Just like the cotton, just like the potato for making a chip, cotton for the textile. So these agriculture output must be must be linked, must be supplied to the industry, and there must have a strong linkage between the agriculture and the industry. But in case of this, we find the industrialization will not happen at the same time. And green revolution must be followed by the industrialization, but it not happen due to that we cannot be able to sustain the agriculture growth for a long duration of time. Next phase, our next way, the stage is the second way of the growth. Indian government had changed its policies during 1991, and it bring economic reform known as the LPG, liberalization, privatization and globalization. In this economic reform, most focus was given to the industrialization. New industrial policy was introduced in July 1991 and liberalized India's industry. And different liberal policies was imposed at that time. It helps to bring the industries in certain pockets, not across the India. It bring the industries and it disperse the industries. It benefited to certain pockets, not across the India. Most of them benefit is getting got by the Maharashtra, then followed by the Gujarat, then Tamil Nadu, then Haryana. So the economic reform, even though bring industrialization in case of India, industrial policies were liberalized, licensing system was removed, registration was just regulated, and certain sectors were reserved by the reserve sector were also reduced. So these things bring industrialization, and several industries were set up across the India. But most of the times we can find here, in that case also, Maharashtra was the first to get the benefit, then Gujarat, then Tamil Nadu and Haryana. The inclusive growth per capita income were recorded very better in case of Maharashtra, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu and Haryana, and other states where do not have. It can raise the economy, even though it raised the economy, it enhanced the per capita income, but not inclusive. The industrialization was a factor that bring the economic growth since 1991 after the imposition of LPG policies, the economic reforms, but it is not able to make inclusive growth. Even though it enhanced the per capita income, it start to the rapid growth. From the Hindu growth rate, our economic growth rate started to cross the limit of the 5% per annum. It reached up to the 7-8% since then. But it only benefited to certain pocket. Next point, it enhanced the economic growth. It make the per capita income high across the India, but not inclusive. My certain peoples and certain pockets we are getting the benefits. Masses even left aside. In that case also, our next phase, that is known as the third wave of the economic growth. Third wave of the economic growth was started since 2000 and 2004. It was based on IT and services. In that case, Karnataka was the first that get benefit, then Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh and Haryana. Mine is, it is also based on the snowballing effect. It is also based on the snowballing effect. Snowballing effect means particularly metro cities where IT and software services are promoted, were boosted, just like the Cyberabad of Hyderabad and Bangalore of Karnataka, Pune, Nasik, Mumbai of Maharashtra and Gurgaon of Haryana. So it only benefited to certain industrial IT centers, not sector, IT centers like Gurgaon, Pune, Cyberabad, and Hyderabad, and I think say Bangalore. So it is also benefited limited pocket, not across the India. While here I mentioned service and industry led growth, they are the not inclusive. Service and industry led growth are not inclusive because it make the rich richer must be richer, and rich must be richer, while poor rendered poor, poorer rendered poor. Another case, a lot chunk of India's population depend on agriculture. I think 45% of the labor force in case of India depend over the agriculture. 45% of India's workforce involved in agriculture. So industry and service most of the time benefited to the certain pockets. It helps to the urban elites because it needs super skill that cannot be attained by the poor and the common masses. So they are living in the rural areas. It creates a gap between the poor and rich, urban and rural pockets because deployed capital intensive technologies. One thing I have also mentioned here, services and industries, both sectors are not inclusive because they adopted the method of capital intensive investments, not labor intensive investment. And other things, they are the not inclusive. Why? Because they want the skilled labor force that cannot be met out by the poor and the common masses of the rural India. Due to that, we can assume here these are the economic growth of India. The best method for India's, I think, say, what India must adopt for economic growth, that kind I have mentioned. If India adopted this method since independence, so it will be better. First of all, the agriculture, because since independence we find more than 80% of India's population was depends on agriculture. So agriculture is most inclusive compared to the other sectors. But since second 5-year plan, we move toward the industries, particularly the basic industries, just like the cement, steel, and like that. So first 5-year plan was focused on agriculture, while second 5-year plan we targeted since second 5-year plan to boost the growth of industries. So if industry were promoted that have a very strong linkage with the agriculture, means agriculture must be the supplier of the raw material to the industry. So agriculture will always sustain. In other words, if agriculture becomes the core supplier of the raw material to the industries, so such industry must be established in case of the India, and India's government must focus to start such industries whose are based on the agriculture, just like the cotton industry, just like a food processing industry, just like the agriculture industry, just like the dairy and milk industry, fisheries, and like that. So different products whose are manufactured in the industry, they must derive their the raw material from the agriculture. But in case of India, has not happened such a case. Due to that, our agriculture system was tight. In other words, agriculture and farmers will not be able to sustain as compared to the economic growth. Next point, whenever industry created the services, those must have a strong linkage with agriculture as well as the industry. But in case of the India, we only promoted the such services whose are based on the export, not related to the industry, just like the transportation, storage facility, banking services. We only based on IT, BPO and the KPO. Those are the export based industry, capital intensive industry, not labor intensive industry. Therefore, our agriculture fully diminished and industry is also not getting so much abrupt upliftment that we are required. While services are flourishing even now. Now we complete our topic about the factor of economic growth. In the next class, we will discuss about the inclusive growth and inclusive development. Okay, bye. All the best.